to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I'm coming back to you with hope. And that's funny because it's only been 48 hours since I went to the neuroophthalmologist and he said, all I can tell you is that your stroke did not cause anything wrong with your vision system. And I was feeling really frustrated because I've got a lot of problems with my vision, and yet there's nothing wrong with my vision system. So he had directed me to a neurotologist. And so yesterday I updated you on just feeling like the ground had shifted underneath my feet and feeling very lost and what have you. Well, I also shared with you that I had asked Chatty McChatterton what I should do about this. And Chatty McChatterton came back to me with like 8 ideas about what I can do to try to, increase my knowledge around it, reach out to forums, and so on and so forth. So, those of you who know me well know that I don't stop. And so this morning, right after my sobriety meeting, I thought, have I Googled yet visual challenges with vestibular disorder? Well, no, I hadn't yet. And one of the things that Chatty McChatterton told me to do is to continue to seek answers and learn and try to gain knowledge about as many things as I can. So that's what I did. And wouldn't you know, the first thing I ran across was this article on vestibular.org, and it's about vision challenges with vestibular disorders. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a shot. Well, the article articulates almost all of my symptoms. I mean, things that I have been either noting to myself or I've been telling my doctors. Things like, I remember sitting in the doctor's office when I first had to stop working, and my boyfriend and the doctor were facing me, and behind them was a window, and the blinds were down, but yet they were open, so I could see through each of the blinds. And I could not even look at them. I had to look down at the ground, and I said, having this window behind you is really bothersome to my eyes. So it was just kind of noted. Well, I also, before I had gone to the doctor, when I was still muscling through working and being in pain, I remember being in the one of the executives' offices, and I said, he asked how I was doing, and I said, I'm doing okay. There are certain things that really bother me, like sitting here with all the windows and the blinds being down, but they're open so I can see through them. So it's like a pattern. It's like light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, like lines. And I said that was really bothersome. But again, I just kind of moved on. I made a mental note, said it out loud, and then I moved on. Well, there are other things that I have been trying to do. I've been dealing with this for 2.5 years. So over time, I've tried to make adjustments myself, like, okay, well, this doesn't hurt so bad, so I'll do it this way. And one of those things, and I talked about it in one of my podcasts, is making accommodations for myself. And one of those things is, in order to walk and not have my vision bother me or get dizzy and nauseous, is to look in the distance at something big that doesn't change perspective as I approach it. Well, this article says that too. It says everything. So this is really exciting, I think, that maybe we're getting closer. So I wanted to really just tell you a little bit about what I learned in the article, and then I'll put a link um, in the episode description to the article so that you can read it yourself. There's also an option to listen, which is what I did. So you can listen to the article and see what you think. But the things that it is talking about are exactly the visual symptoms that I have been experiencing. So I'm just going to summarize it a little bit. I wanted to talk about navigating these vision challenges and the insights from this vestibular.org site. And so let's see. What the article is talking about is the connection between vestibular disorders and visual challenges. So I talked yesterday about what your vestibular system is, and that's your balance. So a lot of people, again, just correlate things like vertigo to the crystals in your ears. That's what you always hear. At least that's what I always heard, was it just has to do with these mysterious crystals in your ears. And how when they get out of whack for some reason, they will cause you to have vertigo. I had vertigo, I guess it was before my stroke. I haven't had vertigo since my stroke. Vertigo, as I know, classic vertigo, where the room is spinning. I don't have that. But I had it back then, and that was very much just correlated with the crystals in my ear. And I had gone to the ear doctor, and they, I don't know, laid me down and moved my head in these methodic ways to try to get the crystals to go back to where they're supposed to be. Nothing worked, and it just kind of went back to normal eventually. Like, I had it for a couple weeks. It was pretty bad. But I know that happens to a lot of people. Well, this is how your visual system correlates into your balance, and how your when you have vision challenges, that can be intertwined into a vestibular disorder. So this is called the vestibulo-ocular reflex. And this plays a crucial role in stabilizing our vision during head motion. So the article talks about, and I'm probably going to not explain this very well, so I encourage you to go to the article and read it. But it's talking about these hairs. I feel like it doesn't call them hairs in your ears, but something in your ears that that kind of move as your head moves, and in your inner ear. And so if I rotate my head to one side, then that will, everything will move that way, and it'll keep my balance. It's like my perception of the world is in line with however my head moves. See, I'm totally not explaining this very well. But anyway, it's talking about this vestibulo-ocular reflex, or VOR. And the article mirrored my experiences and pinpointed issues like difficulty focusing, difficulty watching moving objects, which you guys know I talk about all the time. That's like my biggest thing, is when something moves. Like I I don't want anything to move around me. Um, and then, so like driving in the car, also it talks about digital, which I thought was fascinating. I'm like, while I'm listening to this article, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that's fine. But what about digital? Next thing it said was, and then for digital, and this is because I think what the article said is your digital devices are actually, um, they're not completely static light, like it's flickering or something. Anyway, there's something with digital devices, and that's why it messes with somebody who has this vestibular disorder and it manifests in your vision. So, digital devices, my phone is a big one, but scrolling, it said a lot of people with this disorder have issues with scrolling. It talked about people who like have a hard time looking at patterns. And oh my gosh, when I was going to the vision therapist, the first vision therapist that I went to um 2 years ago, um they had these puzzles that they would put in front of me. And all of the pieces were different colors and different shapes. And they would put, they would pour the puzzles out. There were two matching puzzles. And so she would set up the pieces in one way on one of them, and I had to take the other pieces and mirror that same shape. And the reason why we were doing this was to, I think, check my visual processing. So, seeing if I could actually match the shapes and all of that stuff, which I didn't have a problem with. What I had a problem with was the shapes and the colors and all of that. And there was another thing that we did at that vision therapy. The very first time I went, there was like this other game that we had to play, and the guy poured all of these plastic chips. They were like little round coins. And he poured all of these, there were multiple colors, and he poured a big pile of them in front of me on the desk. And he said, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to read this card, and it's going to tell you what order to put these chips in front of you. And I broke down crying. I said, I can't even look. I cannot process that. I can't even look at it. Like, I just started crying. And um, it's just fascinating, this article. I can't even tell you. I'm so hopeful. I'm not hopeful because it can be fixed, right? Because I talked about yesterday, there's two things. One is what's wrong with me, and the second is how to fix it. I am excited that I might know what's wrong with me. I couldn't be more confident that this is what's wrong with me. And that might be bad that I'm getting so excited about it, but it's just so identical to what I've been experiencing. Some of the things it says, like things will jiggle when you move your head or you experience double vision. I have only had things jiggle a couple times. That doesn't happen a lot, but I do have double vision. I have blurry vision. Um, yeah. So the next thing that it talks about is, oh, it also talked about having a hard time looking at like fluorescent lights, bright lights, all of that. And I have all of that. It's all the same. Everything that it said is the same. So then it talks about how eye exams, like conventional eye exams, don't typically identify underlying issues like this. And that really resonated with me because I went to an ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist said that I had a difficulty tracking, which I did. My eyes would dart away from whatever it is. But it doesn't happen a lot. It's really intermittent that my eyes will dart away. But they do nonetheless. I think the issue was that it made me sick when they would, so they take this metal, like this metal rod that has a metal ball on the end, and they hold it in front of you and they move it around. Just move it around, and your eye has to like track it. Um, and I think my eyes would jet away to save my head. It was like a reflex because it hurts my head to do that, and it makes me sick. So my reflex was for my eyes to dart away, which there are other um, there are other disorders that people have that cause their eyes to dart away, and I believe that mine is different than that. I think mine is due to this other whatever else is happening that's making me sick. Um, so you can tell how excited I am about this. So diving in a little deeper, the article explained the VOR, vestibulo-ocular reflex, and how disruptions impact eye movements during head motion. And the breakdown shed light really onto the root cause of many of my symptoms. It outlined triggers, like I said, to sensitivity to lights or patterns. And it really, a lot of what it said resonated with different experiences that I've had over the past 2.5 years. And the article emphasized the importance of getting a comprehensive evaluation. And so I went to the ophthalmologist, and they said that I had tracking issues and I had convergence issues. What's interesting is when I told my neurologist this, she actually laughed. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" And she said, because she said, "I can't tell you how many people have come in here and said that they went to an optometrist and they said they have tracking issues and convergent issues and got prescribed with vision therapy." She said it's just like it's rampant over the past year. So I thought that was interesting. Um, what I'm what I'm interested to know is, like, this is all something that came from my stroke. So I really want to make sure that once we identify that I have a vestibular disorder, why do I have the vestibular disorder? Did the stroke happen in the part of my brain that controls that? This is still a little bit of a mystery to me, because what I've learned so far is that people who have vestibular disorders as a result of a stroke, ischemic stroke is usually what it is, which is what I had. But it's usually in like the brain stem or something, and that's not where I am aware that my stroke was. My stroke was in my left, upper left side of my head, which is where your speech is, and that's why I couldn't talk well when I was having my stroke. But why is my vision messed up? One of the things the article talks about is how headaches are often a result of vestibular dysfunction. And often the headaches are, it's indeterminate what the cause is. And that's because it's a vestibular issue, that it's this balance, and my eyes are, unable to, I don't know, align with whatever movement I'm doing, or whatever. So what I'm thinking is, one, did I have another stroke, which is a possibility in, because that's what the neuro-ophthalmologist said. He said, I don't understand how this could have caused vestibular dysfunction, because that's not where your stroke was. He said the only other thing is that you could have had, that maybe you had two strokes. So I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know why somebody wouldn't have seen that in the MRI. Maybe they didn't look in this other area because it was so obvious that I couldn't talk, so they only looked in the left upper side of my brain. I don't know. But these are things that are going on in my head, and I'm determined to keep digging until we know what's going on. But these are some of the thoughts, and I don't know, so many questions. So I really connected with a lot of what I read in the article. It highlighted things about reading text, which is a difficulty for me. And I've been explaining to a couple of my doctors recently. I've been trying to explain, like, why it's difficult for me to read text. It's not because I see double. That's not what it is. It's not double vision all the time. Once in a blue moon, there'll be some double vision, but it's mostly like, it's like trying to, you know what it's like? It's like trying to read when you're drunk, where it's just almost impossible to, like, focus. It's like kind of blurry, that's what it looks like to me. So, like, I'm looking at words right now because I usually have my notes for my podcast episode, so I have something to keep me on track, and in case I forget what I'm talking about, which happens all the time. And when I look at the words, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like I'm drunk, and I assure you I'm not. 7.5 years sober. But that's what it looks like. And so difficulties reading text. It talked about peripheral vision distortion. Now, I'm not sure what that means. All I know is that when I wear my glacier glasses that my boyfriend got me, things feel a little better because it blocks my peripheral vision. But peripheral vision distortions, I'm not quite sure. The only thing that I thought was interesting that I didn't mention at the um, neuro-ophthalmologist was when I stuck my head inside this big machine, well, not in the machine, but up against the machine, where I have to watch the little bright lights blink inside the dome, and see if I can see if I have all of my vision and all of my peripherals and stuff. There was one area on the left side all the way on the right, and the left side all the way on the left, and the right side all the way on the right. When the light blinked right in those two spots, it was weird. It was not the same as in all the other spots. It was like blurred and really, really bright. And that's all I can explain. So that's the only thing that I think of when it says peripheral vision distortion. So, a lot of the things that it talked about in adjusting to daily routines, it were what I've tried to do. And I've already mentioned it talked about when you're walking to look at something really far away, something big that's really far away, and that will help you be able to walk further distances. My boyfriend mentioned tonight, he said, isn't that what they tell you to do if you're on a boat and you have motion sickness? Like to look on into the horizon and or look at something that's stable in the horizon or something like that. And I was like, I don't know. I haven't heard that. I don't frequent boats, so I don't know. But it makes sense to me. So I am hopeful. Like, even though it's daunting, like I know this, and I know that I don't have an answer yet. It's just that I have another path. I have another direction that I can go in that seems to hint to the possibility that there is an answer, like to what it is that I'm experiencing. So maybe I have not lost all hope in the medical community yet. Um, so another thing that it says, like, it outlined coping strategies. Okay, that's not we're gonna get rid of it for you. It's here's how you can live as a more normal life. And then it says there's various treatments that promise relief, but it didn't necessarily say, yeah, we can get you fixed all up. This is what the answer is. But what it reminded me of is that I'm not the only one, right? I'm not the only one who has dealt with this. And I say that all the time, that I'm not unique, but it's hard to remember that when I'm trying to go to doctors and they're like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, it's fascinating to me that I would go to this this neuro ophthalmologist, and he would say, you know what, let's try this avenue. Let's try a neurotologist. Um, and this guy was like up in age, like you would think he's seen this before, but it was more like, all I can really do is put you in this direction. And I get it. It's not like he can diagnose me when that's not his specialty, but it's amazing how complex our bodies are. Not only are our bodies complex, but every single one of us is so different. And then when it's the brain that's involved, our brains are just fascinating to me. Fascinating. You know, um, One of my family members, I won't say who it is, but one of my family members also deals with depression. And the experience of going from a very low place in life to getting the help that was needed um, was fascinating enough to cause this family member to want to study the brain. And I agree. It's amazing, but it's hard. And this family member realized that it is quite difficult. But anyway, all of our brains are different too. Um, so this article was a little light at the end of the tunnel. That's what it is. And I am so happy that I've chosen this route to share my experiences and my insights through this podcast, because I hope just one person can, it'll resonate with you and offer understanding and hope. And if there are other people that have vision challenges, which I know there is, vision challenges resulting from vestibular disorders, might hear this episode and think, yes, what did you do? And they'll contact me, and it'll be 5 years from now, but at least I have recorded what I'm experiencing so that there's a record of it, so that maybe somebody can find it and they'll be able to identify with it as well. So thank you for joining me on the Recovery Daily podcast, and I hope that I am doing a good job trying to be an example of how to continue to push forward, continue to seek the answers, and try to keep having hope. And I have my ups and downs. I was just out of down for the past 48 hours, but I'm on my way up again, and I'm excited about that. So we're gonna keep journeying in recovery together, and we are going to adapt. And I'm so happy that I have you and all the folks that contacted me today in various forms. Thank you so much. Everybody is just helping me to continue to move forward. And a special thank you to my sissy who came to visit me today. I had a wonderful time spending time with you. I love you so much. And I will talk to you all tomorrow.